Welcome to our KPC Daily Devotional. Let's begin by reading from Paul's letter to the Philippians, chapter 4, verse 8 through 9. Paul writes, "Finally, beloved, whatever is true, whatever is honorable, whatever is just, whatever is pure, whatever is pleasing, whatever is commendable, if there is any excellence, and if there's anything worthy of praise, think about these things. Keep on doing the things that you have learned and received and heard and seen in me." Let me say that one again. Keep on doing the things that you have learned and received and heard and seen in me, and the God of peace will be with you. This week, we've been reading devotionals from my forthcoming book, The Social World of Fleas. Today, The Enforcer. The Enforcer. Schnauzer Cullen seems to resent the new dog, Duncan, a wire-haired dachshund. Cullen dogs Duncan, always there staring at him, right next to him, even touching shoulders, follows him everywhere. He shadows him, stalks him with a grim, obsessive stare. Whenever he can, Cullen will turn facing Duncan, heads side by side, whiskers touching. He growls, and the aggressive snap is coming. Hasn't bit him yet, but it is unnerving. Now, Duncan still has a lot of puppy energy, so he plays with the other dogs as much as each one is able to play, except for Cullen. Schnauzer Cullen, son of Barkley, has grown far too serious for play. On the rare occasion he might want to play, he had to initiate it. Cullen never could tolerate others playing without him, especially if they were playing games he didn't understand. Cullen doesn't understand most dog games. At first, I thought Cullen was simply jealous, resentful of this new intruder into the comfortable routine of the pack. That Cullen was trying to assert his own status in the pack, above the new guy. Over the last few days, I've realized that if this were a dominance thing, Duncan would be showing signs of submission. He isn't. The whole time Cullen is dogging him, every time Cullen snarls or snaps at him, Duncan has this devil-may-care slap-happy grin. He's playing. He doesn't recognize any power play going on, which means it probably is not a power play on Cullen's part. There's something else going on. Cullen watches Duncan, stares at him, because he is looking for infractions of the pack rules. If Duncan stands in another dog's presence with his head held too high, Duncan snarls. If Duncan leaps on me when I have told him down, Cullen snarls. If Duncan accidentally places his head across another dog's back, which is, to Schnauzers, a sign of dominance, well then Cullen snaps. If Duncan runs too fast, plays too energetically, leaps up, accidentally bumps into him with that uncoordinated hyperactivity of puppyhood, well, Cullen charges and snaps at him. Growl and snap. Don't do that. You're running too fast. You're playing too hard. You're leaping too high. Stop it. That's not appropriate. You're not being serious enough. You see, Cullen has assumed the role of the enforcer. The enforcer is responsible for training new recruits in the rules and protocol of the pack. Consider him the drill sergeant. The enforcer demands conformity, gravity, self-control, and decorum. He is the disciplinarian, meting out knuckle raps and paddlings for every infraction. I suppose every school has one or more, a grim-jawed and seemingly humorless person who brooks no rambunctiousness and enforces discipline without any wiggle room whatsoever. Usually not a principal, but, a teacher or lesser administrator. It's not in the job description, but he or she is the self-appointed guardian of the public order. I don't really remember any from my school years, but then I was a good kid. I didn't pay much attention to that kind of thing. Maybe my second grade teacher, but she got fired a year later for being psychotic, so I'm not sure that really counts. I do remember them from church, though, and I still see them in the churches I serve. She is, the upright and uptight, bun-haired woman who hauled you over the carpet. "Oh, children, stop this instant. We do not run in the house of God." She cold stares the chatty teens into silence during the worship service. She registers her opinion of your blue jeans on Sunday with a long, painfully slow, head-to-toe appraisal, disapproving. Never mind that such trivial rules are not in the Bible. They are the unwritten rules of church propriety in this congregation, and she has made it her job to enforce them. The peace and the stability and perhaps even the survival of the pack depends upon her. But I am unfair. Obviously, I view the enforcer with some disapproval myself. To me, the life and the livelihood of a church, or any organization for that matter, is more important than superficial decorum and good order. That being said, there is a place for the enforcer, an important function. Every organization, every church, develops its own distinct and unique culture. At this point, I've served, 15, 16 churches, and every one of them has its own characteristic flavor. Business types talk about corporate cultures. Same principle. It can cover dress code, whether suit, shirt and tie, or polo shirt and khakis, t-shirt and cutoffs. Each group has its own internal processes of communication and conflict resolution. Some are intentionally creative and inventive, others more traditional and structured. And all of them value their distinctiveness, regardless how that might be defined, and they want to perpetuate it. Now, this is not just a peculiar trait of conservative institutions, because ultimately all institutions are conservative. That is, they all want to perpetuate their distinct culture. You see, liberal churches and organizations and corporations can be just as restrictive and controlling as conservative ones, sometimes even more so. There is something about the culture of each organization that originally attracted those who are there, and they want to preserve it and pass it on to others who can experience and appreciate it as they have. Disregard the usually unwritten rules, whether intentionally or just out of ignorance, and you endanger the culture. Bend it too far, and you could break it. Then the unique experience of this distinctive church or corporate culture would be lost. So enter the enforcer. The enforcer is the guarantor of continuity in the corporate or congregational identity by demanding conformity by all parties to its ideals. This is how we do things. That is not appropriate here. And continuity is important to any organization. Just be aware, there is a downside to enforced conformity. My dogs, well, they can't leave my pack, but visitors, but new members and new recruits and so on, they don't have to stay. They will stay only if they somehow identify with the corporate or church culture. If they don't, or if the enforcement is too controlling, well, nothing keeps them here. At its worst and at its most restrictive, you run off all of the new blood until you end up with only a handful of old-timers, as the church or the company or the club dies off. Then the enforcer has wielded too much power and has been too effective. If you are a part of a community or a club or a corporation, or especially a church, sit down one day and list what parts of your particular culture make you distinctive and unique. What is absolutely essential? The rest? The rest is fluff, small stuff. And as they say, don't sweat the small stuff. Leave room for new blood, for new ideas, for new impulses. And after all, there was a time when even the stodgiest institution was revolutionary, and even Cullen was the new kid in the pack. I wish you a blessed day ahead. Goodbye.